In both your personal and professional life, there is one skill that stands above all the rest, an invisible force that quietly shapes your reality, opens doors, and determines your level of success. That skill is persuasion. Whether you are trying to secure a new opportunity at work, convince a team to support your groundbreaking idea, or simply ask for something you need from a friend or colleague, the ability to persuade is what makes things happen. It is the bridge between a great idea and its execution, between a personal desire and its fulfillment. Many people believe that persuasion is an innate talent, something you are either born with or not. They see charismatic leaders, successful salespeople, and influential public figures, and assume they possess a magical quality that is beyond reach. But that is a profound misconception. Persuasion is not magic. It is a science and an art, a skill that can be learned, developed, and mastered over time. Imagine, for a moment, being able to walk into any situation with a quiet but unshakable confidence. Picture yourself in a high-stakes job interview, a critical business meeting, or a casual conversation with a client, and knowing, with absolute certainty, exactly what to say and how to say it to achieve the results you desire. Think about how much smoother and more fulfilling your life would be if you could gently and ethically guide people to agree with your ideas, to support your goals, or even just to say yes when you need their help the most. The good news is, this is not a fantasy. It is entirely possible. In this guide, we will explore the practical strategies and proven techniques to influence others effectively and, most importantly, ethically. We are going to break down, step by step, the key principles of building trust, making people genuinely like you, and getting your point across in a way that makes others not just listen, but feel inspired to act. You do not need to become a master of manipulation or learn a set of secret psychological tricks. The persuasion we are talking about is not about being pushy, aggressive, or overbearing. It is the opposite. It is about developing a deep understanding of people, learning to speak their language, and connecting with them on a level that feels natural, authentic, and respectful. It is about recognizing what truly motivates others, understanding their fears and desires, and communicating with them in a way that resonates with their own values and interests. When you master this form of persuasion, it doesn't feel like you are trying to convince anyone of anything. It feels like you are collaborating, finding common ground, and arriving at a solution together. You will learn how to make your requests in the right way, at the right time, to maximize your chances of success. You will discover how to handle rejection not as a defeat, but as a valuable piece of feedback, and how to bounce back with grace and resilience. You will master the art of building rapport quickly, creating lasting positive connections with people from all walks of life. As you move through this guide, you will find easy-to-follow, practical advice that you can start applying in your daily interactions right away. By the end, you will feel a new level of confidence in your ability to persuade others, whether you are negotiating a multi-million-dollar deal, pitching a creative idea to your boss, or simply asking for help with a personal project. These are not abstract theories. They are real-world skills that you can apply in everyday situations. With a little practice, they will become second nature, a powerful and invisible tool that you can use to shape a more successful and fulfilling life. If you are ready to learn how to persuade with ease, to get the things you want from anyone without force or manipulation, then you are in the right place. Let's dive into the practical steps that will help you master the art of persuasion and unlock a new level of influence in your world. Persuasion is the silent engine of human progress, and it is time for you to learn how to take the driver's seat. Persuasion shapes everything around us. It is the invisible thread that runs through every conversation, every business deal, and every life-altering decision. It is the fundamental reason why some people seem to get what they want effortlessly, their ideas embraced and their requests granted, while others struggle to make their voices heard, their hard work unnoticed, and their potential unfulfilled. Most people go through their daily lives completely unaware of how profoundly persuasion affects their outcomes. They attribute success to a combination of hard work, intelligence, or sheer good luck. But the truth is far more nuanced. The people who consistently move ahead in life, the ones who create opportunities where others see none, are the ones who have mastered the art of persuasion. Imagine walking into a room full of strangers and, within minutes, making them feel a natural sense of warmth and connection towards you. Picture yourself asking for something significant: a promotion at work, a discount on a major purchase, a crucial favor from a colleague, and hearing a genuine yes without any resistance or hesitation. Think about how much easier, how much less stressful your life would be if people naturally and willingly wanted to agree with you, not because you forced them to, but because they genuinely believed in your ideas and your intentions. This is not a fantasy. It is the everyday reality for those who understand and apply the principles of ethical persuasion. Every single day, you are either persuading or being persuaded. When you apply for a job, you are not just submitting a resume. You are persuading a hiring manager that you are the best possible investment for their company over dozens of other qualified candidates. When you ask a friend for help, you are persuading them to give up their valuable time and energy to support you. Even in the smallest, most mundane moments of life, choosing where to eat dinner with your partner, deciding on weekend plans with friends, convincing a child to do their homework, you are using persuasion. The only question is, are you doing it effectively? The ability to persuade is not a gift reserved for a select few, like charismatic salespeople or eloquent politicians. It is a fundamental human skill, and just like any other skill, it can be learned, practiced, and perfected. Some people may have a more natural inclination towards it, but the vast majority of successful persuaders have consciously or unconsciously developed their abilities over time. Once you understand the underlying mechanics of how it works, you will begin to notice a dramatic shift in the way people respond to you. They will listen more attentively. They will agree with you more often. And, most importantly, they will trust you more deeply. This is not about becoming a more pushy or aggressive person. In fact, real persuasion is the exact opposite. It feels natural, effortless, and collaborative. It makes people want to say yes because they feel good about the decision. People often make the critical mistake of confusing persuasion with manipulation, but the two could not be more different. Manipulation is about tricking or coercing people for your own personal gain, often at their expense. It is a short-term, selfish strategy that ultimately destroys trust and relationships. Persuasion, on the other hand, is about understanding others and presenting your ideas in a way that aligns with their own values, needs, and desires. It is about creating a win-win situation, where both sides feel good about the outcome and the relationship is strengthened, not weakened. The most successful people in the world do not force others to agree with them. They gently and respectfully guide conversations in a way that makes agreement the most logical and natural choice. Think about the people in your own life who always seem to get their way. They are not necessarily the loudest, the most demanding, or the most forceful. Instead, they have a certain way of speaking that makes others want to listen. They know how to connect with people on a deeper, more emotional level. They have an intuitive understanding of how to make their ideas sound appealing. Their requests sound reasonable, and their very presence feel valuable. That is the subtle art of persuasion in action. Without this skill, even the most brilliant ideas go unnoticed. Hard work alone is simply not enough. You can be the most talented, skilled, and dedicated person in the room, but if you cannot effectively communicate your value and persuade others to believe in you, you will be consistently overlooked. Consider a typical workplace scenario. Two employees have the exact same level of experience and skill. One of them speaks up in meetings with confidence, knows how to frame their contributions in a way that highlights their value to the team, and persuades decision-makers to see their worth. The other employee keeps their head down, works diligently, and hopes that their hard work will be noticed on its own. Who do you think gets the promotion? Who gets the exciting new project? The answer is always the same. Persuasion is the critical difference between being forgotten and being remembered. It is the invisible ingredient that makes someone's words carry weight and influence. It is the reason why some people can walk into a meeting and have their ideas accepted almost instantly, while others struggle to get a single point across. When you know how to persuade, you do not have to fight for attention. People naturally and respectfully give it to you. Success is not just about your talent or your effort. It is about your ability to influence people in the right way, at the right time. It is a simple and sometimes uncomfortable truth of human nature. People decide whether they like you within the first few minutes, and often the first few seconds, of meeting you. It is not always fair. It is not always logical. But it is how the human brain is wired. This initial first impression, formed in a flash of subconscious judgment, sets the tone for everything that follows. If you get it right, a sense of warmth and rapport is established almost instantly. Conversations feel natural and effortless, and the other person becomes open and receptive to what you have to say. If you get it wrong, however, you face an uphill battle, constantly fighting against a negative perception that is difficult to change. The good news is that making a positive first impression and getting people to like you is not a matter of luck or guesswork. It is a skill, a series of deliberate actions and behaviors that anyone can learn and master. People are fundamentally drawn to those who make them feel good. If someone enjoys being in your presence, if they walk away from a conversation with you feeling a little better about themselves, they will naturally like you and be more inclined to trust you. The single biggest mistake most people make when meeting someone new is thinking that they need to impress them. They try to steer the conversation towards their own achievements, tell clever stories, or crack witty jokes, all in an effort to prove their worth. But that is not what truly makes people connect with you. The real key, the secret to making people like you almost instantly, is to shift the focus entirely from yourself to them. If a person feels important, heard, and genuinely valued in your presence, they will like you. It truly is that simple. The fastest and most powerful way to make someone feel important is to show a genuine, unforced interest in them. When you meet someone for the first time, make a conscious effort to focus your attention and curiosity on their world, not your own. Ask thoughtful, open-ended questions about their experiences, their thoughts, and their opinions. Most people, when given the chance, love to talk about themselves. It is a rare and wonderful experience for them to meet someone who is not just waiting for their turn to speak, but who is truly and actively listening. When you provide that experience for them, it stands out in a powerful way. If you give someone your full, undivided attention, they will walk away from the conversation feeling great about themselves, and by extension, great about you, even if you barely spoke about yourself at all. Eye contact is the silent language of connection, and it plays a massive role in building instant rapport. When you look at someone while they are speaking, it sends a clear and powerful message. I am present with you. I am engaged. What you are saying matters to me. People subconsciously notice when your eyes wander around the room, or when you seem distracted by your phone or your own thoughts. To build a strong connection, hold steady, warm eye contact, perhaps just for a few seconds longer than you normally would. This creates a sense of trust and intimacy. The key, however, is to make it feel natural. Too much intense eye contact can feel aggressive or uncomfortable. The balance is in keeping your focus on them with gentle breaks in a way that feels relaxed and sincere. Another simple yet highly effective technique to make people like you faster is by subtly mirroring their energy. This does not mean you should mimic every single thing they do. That would be strange and obvious. It is about subtly matching their general tone, pace, and energy level. If someone is speaking with high energy and enthusiasm, matching that excitement in your own voice and expressions makes them feel understood and validated. If they are more calm, quiet, and reserved, Lowering your own energy slightly, speaking more slowly and softly, makes them feel comfortable and not overwhelmed. Humans are naturally drawn to people and things that feel familiar. Mirroring, when done subtly, creates that powerful sense of familiarity and connection on a subconscious level. It sends the message, I am like you. We are on the same wavelength. The sound of a person's own name is one of the sweetest sounds in any language. Remembering and using someone's name in a conversation is a simple act that has a disproportionately large impact on how they feel about you. It makes them feel seen, acknowledged, and respected as an individual. When people hear their own name, it signals a level of personal recognition that builds an immediate connection. If you meet someone new, make a conscious effort to say their name once or twice during the conversation. For example, "That's a really interesting point, Sarah." If you struggle with remembering names, make a silent effort to repeat the name in your head a few times right after you hear it. This small effort makes a lasting and positive impression. A warm, natural smile is a universal signal of friendliness and approachability. It instantly puts people at ease and lowers their defensive barriers. People instinctively react to the energy you project, and if you seem open, warm, and inviting, they will feel more comfortable and relaxed around you. But the key is authenticity. A forced, plastic smile is easy to spot and can have the opposite effect. A real, genuine smile, one that reaches your eyes, happens when you are relaxed, present, and genuinely engaged in the moment. When you truly listen and take an interest in the other person, a genuine smile will come naturally. It is the outward expression of your inner state of positive engagement. In the art of persuasion, the words you choose are your most powerful tools. People say yes for specific psychological reasons, and understanding what makes them agree can completely transform the way you communicate. Some words and phrases trigger an instant, positive, and agreeable response, while others, often without us realizing it, create hesitation, resistance, and doubt. The way a simple request is phrased can be the critical difference between someone eagerly embracing your idea or rejecting it before they even have a chance to truly consider it. Knowing the right words to use in your conversations, negotiations, and everyday interactions is not about manipulation. It is about learning the language of influence and agreement, and it gives you a massive and ethical advantage. One of the most fundamental principles of getting a yes is that people are far more likely to agree when they feel like the decision is their own, rather than something being forced upon them. The human brain has a natural aversion to being told what to do. The moment someone feels pressured or commanded, their instinctive reaction is to resist. Therefore, giving someone a sense of control and autonomy is paramount. Instead of using a directive phrase like, "You should do this," which can trigger a defensive response, try rephrasing it as a suggestion that empowers them. For example, "You might find this helpful," or "Perhaps we could consider this option." These phrases remove the feeling of being cornered, and instead present the idea as a choice they are free to make. No one likes being pressured, but everyone likes to feel that they have made a smart, independent decision. The way you frame the value of your request also matters immensely. Instead of making it about what you need, make it about them. Instead of asking, "Can you help me?" which might make them hesitate as they calculate the cost to their own time, try framing it in a way that makes them feel valued and important. Saying, "I would really appreciate your expertise on this," or "I was hoping to get your help with this because you're so good at," makes the person feel needed and respected. The words "appreciate," "your expertise," and "because" are incredibly powerful. They signal that their contribution is not just a favor, but a valuable act that you recognize and admire. People have an intrinsic desire to feel helpful and significant, and when you appeal to that desire, they are far more likely to step in and offer their support. Timing, combined with the right words, plays a huge role in getting people to agree. Asking for something significant when someone is clearly stressed, distracted, or in a bad mood drastically lowers your chances of hearing a yes. However, if you can present your request when they are relaxed, feeling positive and in a good mood, they are much more likely to be receptive and agreeable. Learning to read the moment, to sense the emotional temperature of a situation before making your request, is a critical skill. People are naturally more agreeable and generous when they feel good, so choosing your moment wisely can make all the difference. One of the simplest yet most scientifically proven persuasive words is the word because. In a famous study, researchers found that people were far more likely to let someone cut in line if they gave a reason, even if the reason was not particularly compelling. The word because signals to the brain that there is a logic, a reason for the request, which makes it feel less arbitrary and more justifiable. Instead of just saying, "Can you do this for me?" Try saying, "Can you do this for me because it will help the team finish the project faster?" The mind responds positively to requests that come with a clear rationale, and because is the magic word that provides it. Another powerful psychological principle is that small commitments lead to bigger agreements. This is often called the foot in the door technique. When someone agrees to something small and easy first, they are psychologically more likely to say yes to a larger related request later. If you need a significant favor, start with a very minor ask to build momentum. For example, if you need someone to review a long report, you might start by asking, "Do you have 2 minutes to look at this one paragraph and tell me if it makes sense?" Once they have agreed to that small commitment, their brain naturally wants to remain consistent with that initial decision to help. People feel more comfortable saying yes when they have already said yes before, creating a positive chain of agreement. Using positive, confident, and benefit-oriented language also makes a request far more appealing. Instead of using hesitant or weak language like, "Would you maybe consider this idea?" which signals your own lack of conviction, use language that projects confidence and highlights the positive outcome. Saying, "This is an approach that has worked really well for others, and I think it could be a great solution for us too," creates a sense of optimism and assurance. People respond better when they feel that what they are agreeing to is not a risk, but a beneficial opportunity. Words that highlight benefits, advantages, and positive results make it much easier for them to say yes, because it frames the decision in terms of what they stand to gain, not what they stand to lose. By mastering these simple but powerful verbal techniques, you can transform your ability to persuade and influence, making agreement the natural and easy outcome of your interactions. Trust is the bedrock, the unbreakable foundation upon which all true persuasion is built. If people do not trust you, they will not listen to you. They will not believe what you say, and they will certainly not be influenced by your words, no matter how eloquent or confident you may sound. Without trust, your best ideas will fall on deaf ears, and your most compelling arguments will evaporate into thin air. The moment someone feels a flicker of doubt or uncertainty about your intentions or your character, they will instinctively put up invisible walls of resistance. But when trust is strong, the opposite happens. People open up. They listen with genuine interest. They value your opinion, and they may even seek your guidance before making their own decisions. Building trust is not a quick trick. It is a deliberate and consistent process, but it is the single most important investment you can make in your ability to persuade. The journey to building trust starts with a simple but non-negotiable principle: consistency. People place their faith in those whose words consistently match their actions. If you say one thing but do another, even in small, seemingly insignificant ways, you plant seeds of doubt that can grow into a forest of mistrust. Every single time you follow through on a commitment, you are making a deposit into your trust account. If you promise to call someone back at a specific time and you do, they notice. If you say you will take care of something, and you actually handle it without needing to be reminded, it strengthens their belief in your reliability. People are constantly subconsciously evaluating your dependability. The more consistent you are, the more you prove yourself to be a person of your word, and the faster trust will grow. Honesty is the second pillar of trust, but it is often misunderstood. It does not mean you have to brutally share every single thought in your head. It means being upfront, transparent, and not twisting the truth to make yourself look better. People have a highly developed natural sense for when something does not add up. If they feel like you are conveniently leaving out key details, exaggerating your successes, or hiding your failures, they will become cautious about believing anything else you say. Interestingly, being open about both your strengths and your weaknesses actually makes people trust you more, not less. It shows that you are authentic, that you have nothing to hide, and that you are confident enough to be real. Vulnerability, when it is genuine, is a powerful trust builder. Listening is one of the simplest, yet most profoundly effective ways to build trust. When people feel truly heard, they naturally and automatically trust the person who is giving them that gift of attention. Most people in conversations are not truly listening. They are simply waiting for their turn to speak, formulating their own response in their head while the other person is still talking. When you break this pattern and fully focus on what someone is saying, asking thoughtful follow-up questions and acknowledging their thoughts and feelings, you make them feel incredibly valued. That feeling of being seen and understood is a deeply human need, and when you fulfill it for someone, you create a powerful bond of trust. Your body language sends constant, silent messages about your trustworthiness, often before you have spoken a single word. The way you stand, how you make eye contact, and the way you use your hands all influence how people feel about you on a subconscious level. If your posture is open and relaxed, your movements are natural, and you maintain steady, warm eye contact, people will perceive you as more trustworthy and confident. On the other hand, nervous habits like avoiding eye contact, fidgeting, or crossing your arms can make someone feel unsure about you, even if your words are perfectly honest and solid. Your nonverbal communication must be congruent with your verbal message. One of the fastest ways to make someone trust you is to prove your reliability in small, everyday things. If a colleague asks for a small favor and you handle it quickly and efficiently, they are far more likely to believe that you can be trusted with bigger, more important responsibilities. People judge your character based on a pattern of small actions. If you remember small details about someone's life that they have shared with you, if you follow through on tiny promises, or if you simply show up on time consistently, you are building a reputation as someone they can count on. Trust also grows when people see that you genuinely care about their interests, not just your own. If they feel that you are only talking to them to get something from them, their guard will remain up. But if they sense that you are genuinely interested in their well-being, their goals, or their challenges, they will begin to lower their defenses. The best way to demonstrate this is by offering help, advice, or a kind word without expecting anything in return. When you give value before you ask for something, people see you as a generous and trustworthy ally, not a self-interested operator. Finally, people place their trust in those who show loyalty. If someone shares something personal or important with you in confidence, and you keep it private, they will feel safe opening up to you in the future. But if they hear even once that you have shared their private words with others, that trust will be instantly and often permanently destroyed. Protecting the confidences that people share with you is a sacred act in any relationship. It strengthens your bonds and solidifies your reputation as someone who can be relied upon. Trust is not something you can demand. It is something you must earn, one consistent, honest, and reliable action at a time. The effort it takes to build is significant, but once it is there, persuasion becomes almost effortless, because people will already believe in you before you even begin to speak. People reveal far more about themselves than they realize. Every subtle movement, every fleeting facial expression, and every slight change in their tone of voice offers a clue, a small piece of a larger puzzle that reveals what they are truly thinking and feeling. The ability to read these signals, to understand the unspoken language of human behavior, is one of the most powerful and underrated skills you can develop in the art of persuasion. It gives you a profound advantage in conversations, negotiations, and even everyday social interactions. When you can understand what someone is really saying, beyond just the surface level of their words, you can connect with them on a deeper level, anticipate their reactions, and influence their decisions more effectively and ethically. The first and most obvious place to start is with facial expressions. The human face is a canvas where emotions show up first, often involuntarily. A quick, almost imperceptible raise of the eyebrows can signal surprise or disbelief. A slight, one-sided smirk might reveal skepticism or a hidden disagreement. A momentary tightening of the jaw can indicate stress, frustration, or a suppressed anger. Learning to notice these details can give you real-time feedback during a conversation. For example, if you see someone's lips tighten or press together right after you have made a point, it might mean they are holding back a counter-argument or feel a strong sense of disagreement, even if they are nodding politely. Spotting this allows you to adjust your approach, perhaps by asking, "I get the sense you might have some concerns about that. I'd love to hear your thoughts." Eye movement also tells a fascinating story. When someone looks away for a second, often up and to the side, before answering a question, they are likely accessing their memory or constructing a thoughtful response. If their eyes are darting around the room while they are talking, it might be a sign of nervousness, distraction, or a lack of confidence in what they are saying. Steady, direct eye contact usually signals confidence, honesty, and engagement. However, if someone completely avoids making eye contact with you, it could mean they are uncomfortable with the topic, feeling intimidated, or possibly hiding something. Recognizing these different patterns allows you to adjust your own approach to make the person feel more at ease and open. The tone of a person's voice is rich with emotional data. A voice that suddenly becomes higher in pitch or faster in pace might indicate excitement, anxiety, or a desperate attempt to convince you of something. A lower, slower tone of voice often signals seriousness, deep thought, or confidence. If you notice a person's voice waver slightly or crack, it could be a sign of hesitation, emotional distress, or uncertainty. Listening carefully not just to what someone says, but how they say it, gives you an extra layer of invaluable insight into their true mindset and emotional state. Body language reveals what words often try to conceal. When someone crosses their arms over their chest, it can be a classic sign of discomfort, disagreement, or defensiveness, especially if they do it immediately after you have said something controversial. Leaning in towards you is a strong indicator of interest and engagement, while leaning away often signals disengagement or a desire to create distance. Even the direction of a person's feet can be revealing. If their feet are pointed towards you, they are likely invested in the conversation. But if their feet start to turn away towards the door, their mind and their body are already preparing to leave, no matter how politely they are smiling at you. People do not always say when they are losing interest, but their body almost always does. Micro-expressions are another fascinating area of observation. These are split-second, involuntary facial expressions that reveal a person's true emotions before their conscious brain has a chance to hide them. A flicker of anger, a quick flash of fear or surprise, or a momentary drooping of the mouth in sadness can appear and disappear in less than a second. Because these expressions are involuntary, they are some of the most honest and reliable indicators of how someone really feels. With practice, you can train yourself to catch these brief, fleeting moments, and they can help you understand people better than they might even understand themselves in that moment. The way someone gestures while talking can also give away their inner state. Open hand movements, with palms facing up, often suggest honesty, sincerity, and openness. Clenched fists or a tight grip on an object like a pen can signal stress, anger, or frustration. If you notice someone repeatedly rubbing their neck, touching their face, or playing with their hair, it can be a sign of discomfort, anxiety, or self-consciousness. These small automatic actions are called pacifying behaviors, and they can give you a clue that the person is feeling uneasy, allowing you to perhaps change the topic or soften your approach to make them feel more comfortable. By becoming a keen observer of these nonverbal cues, you are not trying to become a mind reader or to catch people in lies. You are simply gathering more data, developing a more holistic understanding of the person you are interacting with. It is about understanding their needs, their fears, and their unspoken thoughts. When you develop this skill, your communication becomes smoother, your ability to persuade becomes stronger, and your relationships become more meaningful, because you are learning to connect not just with a person's words, but with their whole self. Asking for something, whether it is a small favor or a life-changing opportunity, can be a tricky and often anxiety-inducing experience. If you do not ask in the right way, you risk not only being told no, but also damaging your relationship with the other person. It is not just about what you ask for. It is about the entire process, the timing, the framing, and the delivery. There is a subtle art to asking, and when it is done correctly, it makes the other person feel not burdened, but comfortable, valued, and even eager to help. Mastering this art can transform your ability to get the things you want and need in life. The first and most important principle to keep in mind is that how you ask is often more significant than what you are asking for. If you approach someone with a tone that sounds demanding, entitled, or pushy, their natural human instinct will be to shut down and resist, regardless of the validity of your request. However, if you ask in a way that is respectful, considerate, and makes them feel valued, they are far more likely to agree. The key is to frame your request in a way that sounds reasonable, simple to execute, and, if possible, mutually beneficial. You want them to see it not as a chore, but as an opportunity to contribute in a meaningful way. Timing, as we have discussed, plays a huge role. Asking for a significant favor when someone is clearly stressed, rushing to a meeting, or in the middle of a difficult task is a recipe for rejection. But if you can wait for a moment when they are relaxed, in a good mood, and have a few minutes to spare, your chances of getting a yes increase exponentially. Pay close attention to the mood and energy of the person you are about to ask. You want to choose a moment when they are in a positive, open, and receptive frame of mind. This simple act of patience and observation can make all the difference. One of the most effective psychological techniques for asking is to make the person feel like they are the one making the final decision. People have a deep-seated need to feel in control of their own choices. Instead of a direct and closed question like, "Can you do this for me?" which can feel like a demand, try using softer, more empowering language. Phrases like, "Would you be open to helping with this?" or "Do you think this is something you might be able to help with?" are far more effective. This language gives them the freedom to choose, which makes them feel respected and in control. When people feel like they have made the decision themselves, without being pressured, they are far more likely to agree and to feel good about it afterwards. Another powerful way to ask is by making the request feel personal and specific to them. People are more likely to help when they feel that their unique skills or qualities are being sought. If you can frame your request in a way that appeals to their sense of kindness, their expertise, or their desire to be helpful, they are much more likely to say yes. Instead of a generic request for a favor, try something more specific. "I was hoping I could get your advice on this, because I really admire how you handle these situations," or "I know you're an expert in this area, and I would really appreciate your input." By making the request feel personal and acknowledging their value, you tap into their intrinsic desire to be helpful and supportive. It is also critically important to be clear and direct about what you actually need. Vague or ambiguous requests leave too much room for uncertainty and confusion, and people are more likely to say no if they do not fully understand what is being asked of them. An unclear request feels like a bigger and more complicated commitment. Instead of saying, "Can you help me with this project sometime?" which is vague in both task and timing, try being specific. "Would you have 15 minutes this week to help me review the first 2 pages of this report? I'm specifically looking for your feedback on the introduction." The more details you provide, the clearer and less intimidating the request becomes, making it much easier for the other person to understand exactly how they can help and to say yes. Giving a reason for your request, as we touched on earlier, is another essential element. People like to know why they are being asked to do something. The more you can explain the reason behind your request, the more likely it is that people will see its importance and agree to help. Instead of simply asking, "Can you cover my shift?" say, "Would you be able to cover my shift on Friday? I have a family emergency I need to attend to." When people understand the reasons behind your request, they are more likely to feel that it is a worthwhile and legitimate ask. This simple act of providing context can transform a request from a potential burden into a clear opportunity to help someone in a meaningful way. By mastering these nuances, you can turn the often dreaded act of asking into a smooth, positive, and successful interaction. When you are trying to persuade someone to agree with a significant idea or request, getting them to say yes early and often can make all the difference. The yes chain is a simple but profoundly powerful psychological technique that taps into the human desire for consistency. The principle is straightforward. Once you get someone to say yes to something small and easy, it becomes psychologically much easier to get them to agree to bigger and more significant things later on. This technique works by building a powerful momentum of agreement. Just like when you start rolling a small snowball down a hill, it picks up more snow and gets bigger and bigger as it moves. In a conversation, each small yes you receive is like another layer of snow, making the final agreement larger and more inevitable. The key to making the yes chain technique work is to start with something that is incredibly easy, almost impossible to disagree with. It is all about building a series of small, effortless agreements that create a positive and continuous flow of yes responses. People on a subconscious level do not like to break a pattern of agreement once it has been established. The more someone says yes, the more psychologically inclined they are to keep saying it. So the trick is to start small, with a question or a statement so simple and obvious that they cannot possibly say no. Once they have given you that first yes, you have officially started the chain and got the ball rolling in your favor. Let's consider a practical example. Imagine you want to convince a colleague to help you with a challenging and time-consuming project. You would not start by immediately asking them to commit hours of their valuable time. That is a big request with a high chance of rejection. Instead, you would start the yes chain. You might begin with a very simple, low-commitment question like, "Do you have just 2 minutes to hear about an idea I'm working on?" This is a small and easy request, and most people will find it hard to refuse. Once they say yes to that, you have established the first link in the chain. After you have briefly explained your idea, you can move on to the next small request. Does the general concept make sense to you? Again, this is a simple question designed to get another yes. From there, you might ask, "Would you be open to just looking at this one-page summary when you have a spare moment?" With each little yes, you are building momentum, and they are becoming more and more invested in the conversation. By the time you get to the bigger request for their actual help on the project, they have already agreed with you multiple times, making it psychologically more difficult for them to suddenly switch to a no. This powerful technique works not just in personal relationships, but also in high-stakes business and professional settings. When you are in a negotiation, for example, getting your counterpart to say yes to smaller, less contentious terms before you get to the big, difficult ask is a smart and effective way to move the conversation in your favor. If you are negotiating a business deal, you could start by asking questions that you know they will agree with. I think we can both agree that finding a mutually beneficial solution is our top priority, right? Once they say yes to that, they are already on the path of agreement with you. The psychological power of the yes chain is rooted in a cognitive bias known as the consistency principle. People have a deep-seated desire to appear consistent in their words, beliefs, and actions. When they have said yes to a few small things, saying no to a subsequent related request would create a feeling of cognitive dissonance, a sense of contradicting themselves. To avoid this uncomfortable feeling, they are more inclined to continue agreeing, as it makes them feel that they are being consistent and true to their initial decisions. It is a powerful internal pressure that you can ethically leverage. The yes chain also works because it helps to create a powerful feeling of positive momentum. When you have said yes to one thing, it feels like you are already on a roll, moving forward in a positive direction. That momentum carries you forward, making it psychologically easier to say yes to the next request. It is similar to the feeling you get when you are working on a project. Once you complete a few small tasks, you start to feel like you are making real progress, which motivates you to keep going. In the same way, when someone says yes to your first small request, they are more likely to keep agreeing because they feel they are already committed to a positive and collaborative path with you. It is important to remember that the yes chain will not work if you start with something too big or too difficult to agree with. If your first request is too much of a leap, the chain will break before it even starts. You must begin with something small, easy, and almost reflexive to agree with. You also need to pace your requests. Do not try to rush through the chain and ask for too much too quickly. Take your time, let each yes sink in, and let the momentum build naturally. The more you practice this technique, the more natural and intuitive it will become, and the more effective it will be in helping you guide others towards a positive and agreeable outcome. It is a simple but profound way to transform your persuasive abilities. In the world of persuasion, it is a common and deeply flawed assumption that the more you talk, the more convincing you will be. We often feel an anxious need to fill every moment of a conversation with words, fearing that silence is a sign of weakness, uncertainty, or a failing argument. But in reality, the opposite is often true. People do not always need a long, elaborate explanation to be convinced. In fact, the more you talk, the more you risk diluting your message, creating confusion, or giving them opportunities to find flaws in your reasoning. Silence, when used deliberately and strategically, can be one of the most powerful and effective tools in your persuasion arsenal. There is a great deal to be said about how we handle the natural pauses and silences in our conversations. Most people feel an almost compulsive need to talk continuously, simply because silence can feel awkward and uncomfortable. But if you are trying to persuade someone, you can learn to embrace that silence and use it to your advantage. By giving the other person the space and time to think, you allow them to truly process your words and consider your message more deeply. You are also, crucially, allowing them to come to their own conclusions, which significantly increases the likelihood that they will not only agree with you, but also feel a sense of ownership over that agreement. The trick is to resist the urge to rush in and fill the silence, even if it feels a little uncomfortable. Think about a time when someone made an argument that really resonated with you and changed your mind. It is unlikely that they overwhelmed you with a non-stop barrage of words. It is more likely that they spoke with clarity and conviction, made their key points, and then allowed you the space to think. This is the power of well-timed silence. It is not about being mute or passive. It is about pacing your words, speaking with purpose, and then having the confidence to allow your message to land. If you have presented your point effectively, a moment of silence gives the listener the opportunity to reflect, connect the dots in their own mind, and decide for themselves that your perspective is worth agreeing with. A classic and powerful example of the power of silence comes from the world of negotiations. Whether you are negotiating a salary increase, a business deal, or even a simple personal favor, pausing at the right moment can be incredibly persuasive. When you state your request or make your offer, and then simply stop talking, it creates a powerful dynamic. It subtly puts the pressure on the other person to respond and fill that space. Most people feel an instinctive need to say something to ease the tension of the silence. In that moment, they will often offer a compromise, concede a point, or even agree to your terms, just to break the quiet. This is your opportunity to wait them out, to let the silence do the work for you. In many situations, your silence makes the other person feel like they are in control of the conversation, and as they take control to fill the void, their response often works in your favor. In situations where you are trying to persuade someone, silence also helps you to avoid the common pitfalls of over-explaining or over-promising. It acts as a natural break, preventing you from saying too much, which can often end up weakening your position. People often feel the need to justify themselves excessively, thinking that providing more and more details will make them seem more credible. However, too many details can lead to confusion, bore the listener, or make them start to question your main message. Keeping your points clear, concise, and simple gives more weight and power to what you are saying, making it easier for the other person to understand and agree with you. Silence also gives you a precious opportunity to observe. When you stop talking, you can start truly paying attention. You can observe the other person's body language, their facial expressions, and their tone of voice. These nonverbal cues are incredibly important for understanding how the person is really feeling about what you have just said. If they seem unsure, hesitant, or uncomfortable, your silence gives you the chance to notice that and adjust your approach. On the other hand, if they appear thoughtful, receptive, or are nodding in agreement, you will know that your message has landed and you have made an impact. Furthermore, silence allows the other person to save face in a conversation. This is especially important in a negotiation or a difficult conversation. The goal is not to trap or pressure someone into agreeing with you. You want them to feel good about saying yes. Silence gives them the opportunity to think things through without feeling rushed, cornered, or coerced. It is the crucial difference between someone agreeing to help you because they feel pressured and backed into a corner, and someone agreeing because they have had the time and space to make a decision they are genuinely comfortable with. The latter form of agreement is far more powerful and lasting. So, the next time you are in a conversation, especially one where you are asking for something, do not be afraid of the silence. Instead of rushing to fill it with more words, let your message hang in the air for a moment. Give the person a chance to think and respond. It is a sign of confidence and respect, and it can be far more persuasive than any words you could have said. Rejection is a universal human experience, and it is something we all instinctively fear. It can feel uncomfortable, sometimes deeply painful, and often profoundly discouraging. But here is a truth that all successful persuaders understand. Rejection is not the end of the road. In fact, if you learn to handle it the right way, rejection can become one of your most powerful stepping stones to success. What matters most is not whether or not you face rejection, because you will. What matters is how you respond to it. When you can learn to handle a no with grace, resilience, and a strategic mindset, you build the mental toughness and the emotional intelligence to bounce back stronger, smarter, and more prepared for your next attempt. The first and most critical step to handling rejection effectively is to stop taking it personally. It is incredibly easy to internalize a no and let it become a negative judgment on your worth, your intelligence, or your ideas. It can feel like a direct blow to your ego, but in the vast majority of cases, the rejection is not about you at all. The person rejecting you is simply making a decision based on their own unique set of circumstances, their needs, their priorities, their budget, or their timing. They are not necessarily rejecting you as a person. They are simply rejecting the specific offer, the timing, or the terms you presented in that particular moment. Understanding this fundamental distinction can help to immediately take some of the emotional sting out of the experience. If you make rejection about your personal worth, you will find yourself trapped in a debilitating cycle of self-doubt. But if you can learn to view rejection as just a part of the process, an impersonal data point, you can let go of the heavy emotional weight it carries. The next step is to maintain a sense of perspective. Just because you faced a rejection once does not mean you will not succeed the next time. Think about almost any successful person you admire. Most of them have a long and storied history of facing rejection. Walt Disney was reportedly rejected hundreds of times by banks before he could secure funding for Disneyland. Oprah Winfrey was once told she was unfit for television. J.K. Rowling faced rejection from numerous publishers before a small one finally took a chance on Harry Potter. The list is endless. The key to their ultimate success was not that they somehow avoided rejection, it was that they did not let it stop them. Rejection did not define their journey. It was merely a hurdle they had to overcome. They kept moving forward, learning and adapting, despite the setbacks. An incredibly effective way to deal with rejection is to reframe it in your mind as valuable feedback. Rather than viewing a no as a failure, think of it as an opportunity to learn and improve. When you are rejected, take a moment to step back and analyze what happened. Ask yourself, what could I have done differently? Was there something in my approach that did not resonate with this person? Is there something I can improve in the way I present myself or my ideas for the next time? Rejection often provides us with invaluable insights that we would never have gained otherwise. Instead of wallowing in disappointment, take a moment to reflect on what you can learn from the experience, and use that knowledge to refine your approach for your next attempt. This leads to the importance of building resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back quickly after facing a setback. It is about staying focused on your long-term goals, even when things do not go your way in the short term. Building resilience takes practice, but it is a skill that anyone can develop. One powerful way to build resilience is by celebrating your small wins along the way. Every time you succeed, no matter how small the victory, take a moment to acknowledge your progress. These small wins keep you motivated and remind you that a single rejection is just one moment in a much larger journey. It is also crucial to remember that rejection is not always the end of the conversation. Sometimes a no is not a final answer. It is simply a not right now. Perhaps the person who rejected your idea was not the right person to talk to, or maybe the timing was just not right for them. That does not mean that your idea or your efforts are worthless. It just means that you may need to find another path, another approach, or another person who is more aligned with your goals. It is about seeing rejection not as a closed door, but as a redirection, an opportunity for growth and exploration. Every no you face brings you one step closer to finding the right yes. When you are rejected, allow yourself to feel the initial disappointment. It is normal to feel frustrated or upset, but do not let those feelings linger for too long. Process your emotions, and then consciously decide to let them go. Do not allow rejection to consume you. Instead, use it as fuel, as motivation to keep going. Remind yourself why you started in the first place, and keep your eyes fixed on the bigger picture. Every no is simply a part of the journey. Your body language speaks volumes, often communicating a more powerful and honest message than your words ever could. It can build instant trust or create immediate distance. It can convey unwavering confidence or reveal deep-seated uncertainty. Understanding and mastering the subtle power of nonverbal communication can make all the difference in how persuasive you are. Whether you are making a high-stakes business pitch, negotiating a sensitive deal, or simply trying to convince someone to see things your way, people are constantly subconsciously observing you, even when you are not speaking. How you stand, how you move, and how you express yourself non-verbally can either powerfully support your message or completely undermine it. This means that the crucial first impression you make often happens before you have even uttered a single word. If you walk into a room with your shoulders slouched, your head down, and your eyes avoiding contact, you are sending a clear, albeit silent, message of insecurity, disinterest, or a lack of confidence. People will subconsciously register this and be less inclined to take you or your ideas seriously. On the other hand, standing tall, with your shoulders back and your head held high, and making warm, direct eye contact immediately communicates openness, confidence, and trustworthiness. This simple change in your posture can have a huge and immediate impact on how you are perceived. It shows that you are comfortable in your own skin and confident in the value you bring to the conversation. Confidence is contagious, and when you project it through your posture, others are far more likely to believe in what you are saying. A key and highly effective technique for building rapport and influence is called mirroring. When you are trying to connect with someone and persuade them, subtly mirroring their body language can create a powerful, subconscious feeling of connection and rapport. This does not mean you should mimic every single movement they make. That would be unnatural and easily detected. It is about subtly matching their general tone of voice, their pace of speaking, and their overall physical posture. If they lean forward with interest, you might also lean slightly forward. If they speak in a soft, calm tone, you might lower your own volume to match. By doing this, you are non-verbally communicating, "I am in sync with you. We are on the same page." This creates a feeling of familiarity and trust, which significantly increases the chances of persuading them to your point of view. Eye contact is one of the most potent tools in the world of nonverbal communication. It shows attentiveness, honesty, and respect. People are far more likely to trust you if they feel you are looking them in the eye during a conversation. However, it is a tool that requires balance. Too little eye contact can make you seem evasive, dishonest, or uninterested. Too much intense, unbroken eye contact can feel confrontational, aggressive, or uncomfortable. The goal is to maintain steady, warm, but not constant eye contact. A good rule of thumb is to hold their gaze for a few seconds at a time, with occasional natural breaks. This shows that you are actively engaged and listening, which in turn makes the other person more likely to listen to you. Your facial expressions play a huge and often underestimated role in how your message is received. A genuine smile, for example, is a universal signal of warmth and friendliness. It can instantly lower a person's defensive barriers and make them more open and receptive to what you are saying. A real, authentic smile, one that crinkles the corners of your eyes, conveys sincerity and makes people feel more comfortable around you. On the other hand, a lack of expression or a constant frown can make you seem distant, unapproachable, or even hostile. Being consciously aware of your facial expressions and ensuring they align with the positive, collaborative tone you want to set can help you establish a stronger connection and keep the interaction positive. Another important aspect of persuasive body language is the way you use your hands. People often feel more at ease and are more likely to trust you when they can see your hands. Keeping your hands open and visible, perhaps resting on the table or gesturing naturally, can make you appear more trustworthy and confident. In contrast, hiding your hands in your pockets, crossing your arms tightly, or clenching your fists can send a subconscious message of defensiveness, anxiety, or a closed-off attitude. Using your hands to emphasize key points in a natural and controlled way can help to reinforce your message and add energy and conviction to your delivery. Speaking with open hands, with palms slightly up, can make you seem more genuine and persuasive, as if you are openly presenting your ideas with nothing to hide. By becoming a master of these silent signals, you add a powerful, invisible layer of influence to every word you speak. The idea of making someone feel important might sound simple, almost trivial, but the impact it has on their willingness to listen to you, trust you, and be persuaded by you is nothing short of profound. When you can make a person feel that they truly matter, that their thoughts, feelings, and presence are genuinely valued, you create an immediate and powerful connection that transcends mere words. This is not about empty flattery or insincere compliments. It is about a deep and authentic recognition of a person's inherent worth, an acknowledgement of their efforts, and a consistent treatment of them with respect. Mastering this skill is a game changer, not only in how others perceive you, but in how open and receptive they become to your ideas and your influence. At its core, this principle works because people are naturally and powerfully drawn to those who make them feel good about themselves. It taps into one of the most fundamental of all human desires, the desire to be seen, to be heard, and to be significant. No one enjoys feeling invisible, overlooked, or unimportant. Whether it is in a high-powered business meeting, a large social gathering, or just a quiet, one-on-one conversation, when you can show genuine, focused interest in someone, you are sending them a powerful, unspoken message that says, "You matter to me in this moment." This is not about trying to impress them with your own stories or accomplishments. It is about truly valuing them as individuals. When you listen intently, give them your full, undivided attention, and respond thoughtfully to what they are saying, you make them feel seen. And that is a gift that people will not soon forget. Making someone feel important does not always require grand gestures. In fact, it is often the small, subtle acts that have the most profound and lasting effect. Simply remembering someone's name and using it in conversation can have a huge impact. Recalling small details from past conversations, mentioning a project they were working on, asking about a family member they had spoken of, shows that you were not just hearing their words, but you were actually listening. People are deeply appreciative when others remember things about them because it is concrete proof that you care enough to pay attention. Small gestures of courtesy, like holding a door open, offering a genuine word of thanks, or simply putting your phone away when you are talking to them, also go a long way in making someone feel valued and respected. One of the most powerful ways to make someone feel important is through the practice of active and empathetic listening. Most people, as we have discussed, are not truly listening in conversations. They are waiting for a gap so they can jump in with their own point. When you break this pattern and make a conscious effort to not just hear their words, but to understand the emotions, motivations, and perspectives behind them, you make them feel that what they have to say truly matters. This goes beyond simply nodding along. It means putting aside all distractions, focusing completely on the speaker, and responding in ways that acknowledge and validate their thoughts and feelings. Phrases like, "That's a really interesting perspective. Tell me more," or "I can see why you would feel that way," create a safe and supportive space. This level of deep engagement builds immense trust, and when trust is present, people become far more open to persuasion. Another key element is showing genuine appreciation. People thrive on positive reinforcement. Whether it is thanking a colleague for their hard work, complimenting a friend on a job well done, or recognizing the unique talents and skills of someone you have just met, showing appreciation can create a powerful and positive bond. For compliments to be effective, they should be specific and sincere. Empty, generic praise can feel insincere and manipulative. But when you take the time to notice and acknowledge something specific that someone has done well, it reinforces their sense of value and competence. It is also important to be mindful of what you compliment. Instead of just focusing on surface-level attributes like a person's appearance, try to compliment qualities that go deeper, such as their intelligence, their creativity, their resilience, or their dedication. People want to be recognized for who they are, not just for what they look like. Making people feel important also means treating them with kindness and dignity, regardless of their status or position. Whether you are speaking to the CEO of a company or the janitor who cleans the office at night, the way you treat them says everything about your own character. No one likes to feel disrespected or dismissed. When you approach every person with the same level of kindness, courtesy, and empathy, you make them feel valued as a human being. It is easy to treat someone well when they are in a position of power or influence. But showing that same level of respect to everyone you meet is what will truly set you apart and build you a reputation as a person of high character. People will remember how you made them feel, and that memory can be a powerful and persuasive force in your favor. When you make it your mission to make others feel important, you are not just becoming more persuasive, you are becoming a better and more influential human being.